Hi everybody, this is Paul Norman here. Last week on the Facebook page we uploaded a photograph from the first park run and put a link to the results, and a few people since then have asked me how we got Skipton park run going in the first place. So just a few thoughts here on Skipton park run from conception to birth. Actually, Chris, Kenny and I had talked about perhaps having a Skipton park run several times in the 2 or 3 years leading up to when we actually got going with this, but we didn't really think that would be a sufficient number of runners and volunteers to really make it viable. And I, for one, am delighted to have been proved wrong on both of those counts many times over the years since. Things kind of got going around April 2013 when in conversations between Tris, Bruce Dinsmore, our lovely sports development officer, and a couple of other people, Jodie Belcher and Miranda Phillips, we got going and we talked about various ideas, how we'd organise, divide the tasks and all that kind of thing. In June 2013, we sat down with some maps and some bits of string to check the measurements, and we devised a possible route. We then recce'd the route. We actually had a visit from Tom Williams, whose experience with parkrun was invaluable. We made a few course changes after then. Once we decided on the route, we did things like carry out a risk assessment and so on, and worked out what we needed by way of first aid and so on. We needed to raise the money, and to set up a park run cost £3,000. So we scratched our heads and worked out what we could do. Tris negotiated with the Bradford area network of running clubs, and they chipped in a bit. Bruce and I did an application for a grant from Rotary, who very kindly provided £500, and Skipton Athletics Club also donated quite a lot of money of the £3,000 to get things going. Also made available some of the kit, which is joint owned between Skipton AC and Craven District Council, so some of the signage and so on. Some came with the parkrun package, but the rest was Skipton AC, Craven District Council stuff. We got a laptop from Parkrun, and they have the setup costs by way of the website and Facebook pages and databases and all that kind of thing. None of us had done much by way of parkrun running ourselves or actually volunteered anywhere else, so we had to learn how to process the data, how the finish funnel works and all that kind of thing. Tris went to Leeds to Woodhouse Moor and ran it, and then watched how the finish funnel worked and came back with some really useful notes on the processing. We did some practice desktop barcode scanning, stopwatch timing, and then practice processing some results. We had a real practice park run, dress rehearsal as it were, on the 31st of August. And they were mainly Skipton AC members who did that, and I can't remember who did the stopwatch. Maybe it was Tris, I can't remember. But I did the barcode scanning, and did the barcode scanning wrong because I scanned the position before the personal barcodes that people had, and of course we all know now that's the wrong way round. Still, you learn the hard way. Anyway, kickoff was the 13th of September 2013. This then was the top 10, some familiar names, many of whom still run parkrun here and elsewhere. We produced the news, the links there to the first news report. This tells us that there were 194 runners, and thanks a few people for their support on the way. These are the photographs that we put out last week. These were taken by Christine Buckley and do show what a lovely day it was. It also shows that the start was down near the old children's playground at the bottom of the park, and the runners ran up the park towards Cherry Tree Lane, did a right up Cherry Tree Lane, and then in the opposite direction round the woodland path before running down the park to go back up through the woods. So this was a mainly off-road route rather than tarmac route as we have now. And fortunately for the autumn was really rather nice, but during the winter months it did get rather muddy up in the woods. So anyway, that was the first one. Lovely day. And as you'll all be familiar now, we get a thank you to the volunteers, and the people listed here include, in fact, volunteering on the day were all the team who set it up in the first place, plus other people whose names there have been involved in parkrun and regularly ever since. You'll also all be familiar with getting your result for running via an email, or your thank you for volunteering. This was mine. Thank you very much for your support at Skipton event number 1, 07/09/2013. You have volunteered on one occasion and fulfilled one role. That seems like a long time ago, doesn't it? Anyway, the right hand side there, we've got the list of the first events through from September until December. Shows the number of runners and the number of volunteers. So from that 194, actually we did pretty well with numbers of runners for the first few months. So we're sort of doing quite well there. We were rather pressed for volunteers on a number of occasions. I do remember those in December where we had 3 volunteers and 4 volunteers. Hardly seems possible, but we did actually manage to record times and do the barcode scanning and so on. But it did feel rather pressured at time. Anyway, that's how we got going, and we continued with that mainly off-road route until the following March, when due to the damage that really was being caused to the off-road parts, we switched to the tarmac route that we still do today. So maybe we'll run through some other changes that we've done and some other anecdotes another time, but for now that's how we got parkrun going way back in September 2013. Cheers.